Hey everyone, it's Shawn. One of the themes that keeps coming up this season in the Meaningful Revolution podcast on leadership is clarity. Knowing why you're doing the things that you're doing, understanding why other people are in your team, in your organization, doing the things that they're doing, and taking action to make changes. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode with my friend Dan Gomer. Now, Dan is a former middle school science teacher turned entrepreneur. He works in real estate. He's combined his expertise in building a successful real estate business into a kind of coaching and marketing agency. He's written a couple of books titled, I'm full of it, and so are you, which is about mindsets, working on the stories you tell yourselves, empowering your beliefs to serve you more, and connecting with your authentic self. And we had a really wonderful conversation that covered a lot of territory. I'm really excited for that. On another note, just for the folks that have been listening for a while, or if you're new, we're playing around with the format in today's episode a little bit, so I'm excited to also bring that to you. But with that, please enjoy this conversation with my friend Dan Gomer. Hey Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. I know that you've written some books on personal development. I know you're a realtor. So could you maybe start out by sharing with our audience here today, how did you find this secret of getting clear? So maybe let me rephrase this. Do you have a story of when you weren't clear, you had to figure out how to get clear, and then everything changed?
Yeah. As you are too, a big believer in clarity. I have an example. Like if I'm standing up on stage and I just say, all right, somebody give me $20. And I just stop talking. Like, who's going to open up their wallet? But if I say, all right, somebody give me $20. And if you do, I'm going to give you 100. But it's for the first person, right? You get a bunch of people running up the stage with $20 bills and trying to get 100. Right? So that's motivation. That's clarity. See, when I just said, give me $20, they were like, why? I don't understand why. So I'm not going to do anything. So clarity is the foundation of all motivation, understanding
Mhm.
why we're doing the thing that we're doing. Um, there's a lot of stories that come into my mind when you talk about that, but I'll just share. Here's a really good one. So I was a middle school science teacher for 7 years. In the beginning of my career, I've just loved teaching at heart. That's what I'm really passionate about. And towards the end of my teaching career, I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher anymore, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I spent about 2.5 years asking every single person that I knew what they did for a living, what they liked about it, what they hated about it, and then I would process it and then go, "Hey, that's not it. Okay." And I just kept moving along trying to find the right job. And shockingly, I never ran into a real estate agent. That's which is crazy. But I'm asking all these people and no, finally got to the point where the school year was getting ready to wrap up. I knew that I was leaving and I was like, I got to hire a professional coach to help me figure out like what my career is going to be next. And so I hire this lady, pay upfront for 3 sessions. And the night before I go to see her, I have one of those waking dreams. And I was just like, real estate, duh. And so I go into my very first appointment with her and I'm like, hey, last night I figured out what it is that I want to do. Okay. We talked about it for about 20 minutes and I left and didn't see her again. But you're talking 2.5 years of trying to figure it out and just being curious. And then the moment when it hit, I knew it. And I was just like, that's it. And obviously my career never was the same again. And it had a huge impact on my life as well, getting into real estate.
Amazing. And what I love about what you were just saying there is so many times people think getting clarity in life is something that it just happens to you. Like one day you don't know, the next day you do know, and it clicks. But it's a 2.5 year process of experiments essentially. I think maybe it's this, oh, maybe not, or hey, this looks interesting, closer maybe. And it's like the paleontologist sweeping dust off bones. And at the end of 2.5 years, you have a whole skeleton of what's it, of what you really want to go after. It's a lot of figuring out what doesn't work to know what does work.
Yeah, absolutely. And just getting curious. I think sometimes people are afraid to be curious, almost like curiosity killed the cat kind of mentality or something. And the reality is, or if I don't have the answer right now, then I'll never have the answer. And I try to live my life in a playful, curiosistic
Yes,
way. I don't know. I tried to make up a word, but I don't think it exists.
it does now. So I love that. So I'm curious then. So what? So you're like, you have the aha, I want to get into real estate. What drew you to that particular field? I'm imagining people are saying like that is kind I think anything you're like, oh, aha, I want to do this is always strange. But what were the things that needed to unlock for you in order to go down that path?
Yeah. So I have construction background when I was in college. That was what I did to make money. I framed houses in the summer. I built decks and fences and just loved to use my hands and build things. And so for me, it was a good fit because I actually got into fix and flips on the front end, got a
Yeah.
loan and started doing some flips. And so I was really excited about that, like the building process, being engaged in real estate, learning all about it, and quite frankly, making money because I was a teacher. I was tired of being broke. And so I saw a lot of upside in terms of being able to generate income, be able to use my hands. And it's just a cool industry. I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, are just kind of fascinated with real estate. And so just wanted to learn more about it. And I don't know, it was just exciting. I was like, yes, this is something that I'm willing to jump ship and go try something new.
Right on. So was it something that you had in the back of your head, or was it like left field, like stroke of inspiration? Oh, this is the thing.
It's one of those things. It's like, how did I not think about this? Like, I don't get it. I don't know why this process was so painful. Sometimes I think that's the way it is. Um, if you really want to know what I think really happened was, I think I
Mhm.
did know that, but it was lodged in the back of my brain somewhere. And when I hired the business coach to help me figure out what to do next, that loosened up my constraint within my brain and
Mm.
allowed it to just come out. That's what I think happened.
Okay. Right
Yeah.
on. That's amazing. And I like too that in a way you're bringing back skills that you had used in college. You did the whole school teacher thing, which is not a lot of building. Science can be fun. I'm sure there's some cool
It was cool.
explosions and building things, catapults, all that thing.
Well, stain on the ceiling from one of my experiments that's still there.
Right on.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, getting back to doing the fix and flips, which is you buy a house, fix it up, and then sell it, right? Just common terminology. So that's amazing. So how do you get from, okay, so you have the aha moment, stroke of inspiration, you start chasing this down, your life's changed forever. How do you get from there to coaching others on getting that same clarity?
A long journey. So I was flipping for about 4 years and I the first year I was unlicensed and then I got my license and I realized after a certain amount of time that there's a lot of exposure when doing fix and flip, short term
Mm,
kind of projects. You got a lot of money out, things can turn quickly. It's just really risky. And I got to the point where I was like, instead of doing this, I could just help other people buy and sell real estate and not have all of the exposure. And so that's why I transitioned into the more traditional form of real estate. And as I was, we'll call it growing my business, it was really slow and it was really painful. I had anticipated that I've been in the business now for 4 or 5 years. People know I'm in the real estate. This is going to be really easy. They're just going to start buying and selling with me. And what I didn't realize was I was actually creating a whole new business. Everybody knew me as just an investor. They didn't really know what I did. And so when I said, hey, by the way, I can help you buy and sell, they're like,
hmm,
it just wasn't clicking. And so it was a really painful process trying to start my business. I don't feel like I had great mentorship. I had some good
Mm.
people in place to help, but I didn't have that like real mentor that could step in and be like, "Hey, Dan, hello, like, stop, just start doing that, like, help me move along." And so I had to just muddle through it. In the meantime, I've got 2 small kids at home and
Mm.
we're going broke and the pressure is mounting. And I eventually fell into a really deep depression where I didn't feel successful. How come other people can do it and I can't do it? And just a woe is me victim mentality to the point that I even started to become suicidal. I was just very self involved and just could not figure out what was wrong with me, with the way I was looking at it. And one day I'm sitting on my bed and just having this conversation in my head. And I finally had this realization of I've got 2 kids and a wife. Like I can't continue on this way. I've got to do something different.
Mm.
And so that was kind of my big aha moment where I was like, yep, that's it. I'm never going down this deep, dark depression thing ever again. Like I'm going to become solution oriented. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make it happen. And so then the next, I don't know, 5, 6 years was essentially me trying to prove to me that I could actually be successful
Mm.
in the business world. And so I put my head down and I just went after it. There was nobody that was going to stop me. I became really good at implementing and taking an idea and running with it until it either worked or it didn't. And I went on to something else and I worked my tail off. And not surprisingly, end of 2020 was my best year ever, but I climbed that mountain. I had a number set in my head and in 2020 I hit it. And then it was
Wow.
okay, cool. Did it. All right. Now what? And I love real estate, but I was just in a position where I didn't really want to sell as much as I was. And I wanted to find a way to get back to what I love to do, which is teaching. And so
Mm.
that's when I really started leaning into my team. And in 22, I moved brokerages to a brokerage called EXP now, and they're very team oriented. And it's just a perfect fit for what I'm doing. And so now my focus is more on what I really love to do, which is helping other people grow. And if I would much rather see somebody who's hungry and ready to learn and teach them something and watch them go sell a house than sell a house myself.
Mm.
And that's what I get to do now. I get to pour into people and watch their life change through the vehicle of real estate, just like mine did, and be able to pay it for it and be that mentor I never had. And so I'm finally in the position now where I get to do that. And I love it. It, yeah, it's what I'm really passionate about.
Awesome. That's amazing. And at the top of the episode, I talked about the reason why we need to leave our own meaningful revolutions or the things that help get us out of bed or help direct our energy in a positive way is exactly your story. It's you have people that rely on you. Your mind is not in the best place, but you make that decision to say, "Hey, like this is going to change." And you go about and you get into action doing it. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that worked out and probably even more things that were learning steps to the next big thing didn't work out the way you wanted to. But I just wanted that's amazing and just wanted to acknowledge that and cheer you on for that because that's great.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you. And going back to, I think I got away from your question, but you had asked this question of how did that get me towards talking about things like clarity? And so when I decided that I was going to make shifts in my life, I made a bunch of shifts in my business, but I also started really diving into
mm,
personal development, which I hadn't
mm,
done before. And over the years, I started making these shifts in my life, and stuff that used to be difficult now just became part of who I was, right? Growth. And one day I was working with a coach, and he was just like, "Tell me about the process of like you like when you change something in your life and you grow. Tell me what that looks like.
mm.
What's step one, step two, step three, step four?" And I started mapping it out, and I came up with this thing that I call the playground. And the playground is a coaching program that I run just with my real estate team at this point. But the whole point of that program is to play and experiment with life until you figure it out. Like not taking
Cool.
things seriously. It's like trying to figure out what I want to do next in my life. I could be like, "Oh, I can't figure it out," and beat my head against the wall, or I could just be like, "I don't know, that sounds like fun."
Right.
Like, we have the choice with how we interact with whatever it is that we're doing.
Hmm.
And so that's what the concept of the playground is. As we experiment, as we play around with things more, as we get curious, we get clarity, just like what happened with me trying to figure out about real estate. When I eventually, the answer came the more that I played with it. And as I started to build out that playground, that's when it really started to dawn on me this whole idea of clarity,
Hmm.
how important it is, and how it really is the foundation for motivation. Because now I'm a team leader.
More of this episode after a quick break. Hey there, aspiring entrepreneurs. Are you ready to take your business idea or mission to the next level? It can be overwhelming and costly to juggle 100 different tools to operate your online business. So let me introduce to you Kajabi, the all-in-one platform that I use to run my podcast, promote my coaching services, do email marketing, website, blog, and more. So Kajabi has everything you need from website hosting to payment processing, and you can build a business that's responsive and agile to market demands. Plus, Kajabi offers excellent 24/7 customer support that I've used exclusively in my years of using this platform. It's great. I love it. And a supportive online community of over 25,000 members, along with access to live and on-demand trainings. There's tons and tons of support in the Kajabi community. I personally use Kajabi and love how it simplifies running my business and podcast. And it's helped me save time to focus on what really matters, creating value for you and the podcast and my coaching clients. So if you're ready to take your business to the next level, go to www.shawnbutler.com/Kajabi to sign up for a free 30-day trial. Now, this is an affiliate link, so if you use my link as a special bonus, you'll get a free 1-hour high-performance strategy session where we'll go over your goals for your trial. We'll help you get clear on what you're going after, keep motivated through the 30 days so you can maximize the impact of this free trial. I know that you can do this. You got this. In the strategy session, all the support of Kajabi, the amazing all-in-one platform is everything you need to get started or to amplify what you're already doing digitally. So with that said, let's get back to the episode.
So I'm trying to teach people how to get motivated. And for me, it's kind of like, all right, well, if you're not motivated, you don't know why you're supposed to move. So let's talk
Mhm.
about that.
Oh, I love that. And I know in my personal life, being able to play or I love technology, AI is the new hottest thing. I've tried, I don't know, dozens and dozens of these tools just because they're cool. I have no idea how it's going to help me in my life or business, but
Yep.
I'll figure it out. It'll come to me, and I have a couple of areas where that does. But so I love the idea of the playground, and I'm curious, what do people usually get wrong? Is it they get so caught in the gears of their life that it's just added stress to try to do anything new, or what's going on? What are you trying to get people out of to get to the playground?
Yeah. So are you, just so I can make sure I understand you? So basically, you're asking like what holds people back from maybe doing the things that they say they should be doing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right. Because you probably hear that a lot, right? Oh, I need to, I should be, I could be,
yeah.
whatever. Right. But I don't. Okay. Why? Yeah. I think it's really different for everybody. Um, when I was ready to change, when I was depressed and in those dark moments in my life, I wasn't ready to change until I was ready to change. And when I was ready to change, I changed in an instant. And I've seen that play out in my life in more than one instance. And so I believe, and I've also seen it in other people, as soon as we are ready, we change. When we see the value in making a change, we change. If I'm approaching the end of a street and it turns to the right, I have a very clear idea of why I should turn to the right or stop. Because what's going to happen if I don't?
Yeah.
So in our life, sometimes we see that dead end coming, and instead of doing anything about it, we just drive right into it because we haven't taken the time maybe to slow down. Sometimes we would rather run into the wall so that we can tell the story about how horrible the world is to us. We'd rather play the victim.
Mhm.
Sometimes we're so distracted that we just don't have the time to get quiet and think about it. I know I've been in that space, right? I've been in both of those spaces. Right. So there's lots of different reasons for why people don't make those changes. But I guess I would urge anybody watching this, if you ever catch yourself saying, I need to, I should, or I have to, or any of those kinds of things, those are always like triggers for me that make me go, wait, do I really need to do it? First of all. And if the answer is yes, do I want to do it? I need to call more people. No, you don't. Do you want to call more people? I want to make more money. Okay. So if you want to make more money, then you need to call more people. Do you want to call more people so you can make more money? Yeah. Then call more people.
Right
Right.
on.
Reframing it. Right.
Mhm. Yeah. Having those trigger words, I think, is something I teach a lot in my coaching practice. Of when you catch yourself being down on yourself or that motivation reframe. So I had like three different questions or three different ways I could go in the conversation and try to navigate it in real time. So forgive me
Yeah.
for
Don't hurt
seem a
yourself.
little disjointed, but
No,
um,
you're great.
so got first question I think might be interesting is how do you approach making things more fun? Right? Because sometimes I imagine in a sales position such as real estate that sometimes you can't control market rates, interest rates, or the availability of housing supply, or a lot of things we're facing here in the States and around the world. So, how do you make that process fun and maybe extrapolate that for people outside of real estate? But how do you do that, I guess, starting in what you do?
I think it really comes down to focal points and reframing, you know? So there was a time where after 2020 where I was just like, you know what? I think I want to leave real estate. I was kind of burned out on it, been doing it for a while and was ready to do something else, wanted to teach and coach and speak and write and do all that kind of stuff. And so every time I would get a real estate transaction, I would be like, oh, another real estate trend. I'm like, first of all, this is how I'm making my money. My attitude around it was really crappy
Mm.
and it was making it not fun. And I eventually got to a point where I was like, hey, this is a part of my journey. I have a choice. I can either enjoy it or I can fight against it. I don't have to sell real estate. I can go make money somewhere else. Do you want to make money in real estate? Yeah. Okay, great. And just changing my focal point from every deal that I get is getting me a step closer to the next step in my life. Like I have big dreams. So I need to sell more houses to get to those big dreams if
Mhm.
that's what I want. And so by changing my perception around what's in my life, I can choose to enjoy where I'm at, no matter how crappy the situation is or how amazing it is. I get to choose how I react to it. So what we focus on is welcome to your life. That's your life. What you focus on is your life. So you can focus on the good or the bad. Glass half full, glass half empty, right?
Right on. Yeah. So in my world of high performance coaching, one of the questions I love when people get stuck like this is to ask them, what do you need to show up for on your A game? Because instead of focusing on, I don't want to do this, oh, we need to move houses because the family's growing. And so that's a lot of financial pressure on me. I need to make that happen. And that shifts people's mindsets pretty quickly. I'm curious, do you have any questions you like to ask your team or the people that you mentor and lead to help shift that focus?
Yeah. I guess one of my favorites is they say something like, "Oh, I'm not selling enough houses. I'm not doing enough deals," and
Mhm.
whatever it is. I like to just ask them, "Tell me why you like to be broke." I don't like to be broke. You do like to be broke because I've told you 7 times is to do this and this if you want this result, and you keep telling me you want that result. You know what the solution is. and yet you're doing nothing to create that for yourself. You want to be broke. Why do you want to be broke? So I like turning it around and help in my mind, it helps people see that everything's a choice.
Mm,
You have the choice to show up this way. You have the choice to do the things that I've told you to do, and you're choosing not to do it. And I believe that once they see that it's not the situation, it's actually the way they're reacting to the situation that's
mhm.
causing the problem, that's going to help underpin that motivation to, oh, okay, okay, maybe I do want to do this. And then they go, in theory, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it brings me to another topic that I know you talk about a lot. So how do you have that conversation with someone that is burnt out or someone that has been putting in the effort, been doing all the right things, and still the things aren't going right, and maybe they're getting a little impatient. Maybe they're just, just want to see the results so much they're bleeding and it's not happening for them. How do you help somebody through that or coach them through that burnout?
Yeah, well, love that question. And by the way, the reason that I believe that I'm qualified to answer this question is because I have burned out many times, not because I don't burn out, but in a lot, and I've used myself as an experiment, right? And I try to figure these things out when it happens. So the way that I see overwhelm, burnout, or whatever is imagine a spectrum. On one end,
Hmm.
you've got the Buddhist monk sitting on top of the mountain with absolutely no distractions, and on the other side, you've got like your head's about to explode because you're so busy. Then there's everything in between. First of all, there's benefits and drawbacks to being on either side. When you're grinding and getting after it, yeah, it might be overwhelming, but you're probably going to have more money, more financial opportunity. You're going to have more stuff, a nicer house, vacations, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's benefits to it. On the other side, yeah, you've got peace, but how are you eating?
Hmm.
It's helping take care of you because if you literally just sit all day in total zen, somebody's got to stuff food in your mouth. Right. So there's benefits and drawbacks to both. So we all lie somewhere on that spectrum. And
Hmm.
the thing is that we change all the time. Sometimes we're more stressed out than others. And what I've come to realize is that none of them are right or wrong. It's about just understanding where we are and then
Hmm.
making intentional choices to move ourselves along that spectrum one way or the other. So maybe we're too peaceful, right? And we need to grind a little bit and we know we need to grind a little bit. How do we move? Too grindy and we need to chill a little. How do we move? And so the way that I see two ways for moving along the spectrum, we either change our environment, we change our mindset, which is essentially the way we view the world. We quit our job, we find new friends or a new relationship, we ask for a raise, whatever it is, right? So we change something in our environment, or we wake up earlier, or whatever it is, something outside of ourselves, we change that, and that can shift us. Maybe we get rid of our commute to work and we work remotely. That's a change in your environment that could take you from totally stressed out to more peaceful immediately.
Hmm.
But then there's other times where we look at our environment, like I look at where I'm at right now, and I'm doing a lot of things. I'm selling real estate, I'm growing a team, I'm supporting a team, I'm coaching my son's basketball, I'm a father, husband. I'm doing a lot of stuff. And so I started asking myself this question: can I change the environment? And there's probably some things that I could shift a little bit, but the reality is, for the most part, environment's pretty stuck right now. I've just got to kind of power through it. So, what can I
Hmm.
change? I can change the way that I am interacting with what is. I can change my
Hmm.
relationship to my life and just say, hey, it is what it is. Is it possible that I could actually enjoy grinding it out right now? Is it possible I'm going to look back at this time in my life and be like, man, that was crazy. What a cool ride. And if so, then I'm in that time right now. Why can't I enjoy it right now? And so this is something that I'm currently working on right now. And when I catch myself going, oh man, I've got so much to do, I try to catch it and go, wait a minute. Yeah, you do have a lot to do, but it won't always be like this. So why don't
Hmm.
you just be present with what is? Be present with the uncomfortableness of the whole thing because you're not going to quit selling houses. You're not going to quit your team. You're not going to quit being a dad or a husband. So
Hmm.
let's change your relationship with what is. And that has been tremendously powerful for me because it reminds me that I'm choosing the life that I have,
Hmm.
not being forced into it. And it gives me, I don't know, maybe it gives me a little bit of control. I don't know, but it definitely makes me feel better.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that. Okay. And now I'm fighting up. So I'm a high performance coach. And our definition of high performance is, you know, increasingly improving whatever standard or normal in your life without damaging health and relationships or burning out. Every time, every project, every job, every phase in life has times where you are just grinding and there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you're going to go there. My question for you, and maybe for what's going on with you, is there anything that would make the current pace with everything going on in your life more sustainable?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think the stuff that I was just talking about would fit into that, changing the environment or the
Hmm.
mindset. Um, and I love the concept of what you were just talking about like basically growing without exploding. Right.
Yeah.
And that's really my own personal experiment that I'm doing right now.
Oh,
How
okay.
can I get without losing my mind? Uh, and, and the reality is, I think some people actually really like to grind. I'm not that kind of person. If it were
Hmm.
me, my tendency is to be more on the peaceful side and just chill.
Hmm.
And I don't know how sustainable it is over the long haul. I've got
Okay.
3 more years going at the clip that I'm going at, but my intention within 2 to 3 years is to be in a position where I can start making some very different lifestyle changes so that I don't have to do this forever. Right. But there
Hmm.
is a light at the end of the tunnel. I have a plan.
Hmm.
I'm working hard to execute it. I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I am working to keep balance in my life. So when I'm with my kids, I'm present with my kids and
Hmm.
I try not to bring my work out to them and all these little things that I do on a consistent basis to keep my stuff together. The reality is I don't want to be doing this forever. So it's sustainable for a period of time.
And now for a quick break. Well, I love that you're doing this personal experiment. My life is full of them myself. Can I do this? Will this work? Can I run a marathon? And I can and survive. So,
Right on.
those types of things.
I have
So
not taken on that endeavor. I know some friends that have, but none of that.
it's a crazy journey. And I can tell you a really great story on how that all happened. Real quick, I had moved to Arkansas for my first job out of college, didn't know anyone, got stuck, was so bored after work that I'm like, I should just see if I could do this. And then incrementally, I was like, okay, I'm getting more serious about it.
Did you
Super
run the whole
slow.
thing?
Yeah, ran the whole thing.
Wow.
Super slow. Then doing something to test yourself that way, and again, was not sustainable for the rest of my life to maintain that pace of training or whatnot. But just say, hey, can I do this? I found that getting outside a lot and doing the training helped me with stress and helped me get promoted at work and stuff. So it's weird how things are interconnected.
There's something to that. Not to go down a rabbit hole here, but there's definitely something to that. I find it fascinating watching older people who are retired and seeing the difference between the ones that age really quick. All of a sudden they get old. And then there's
Mhm,
other people that almost seem to get younger. And I'm like, what is going on? And what I've noticed is that it seems like the people who age slower and have a big smile on their face, they have projects. It doesn't matter
mhm.
what the project is.
Yeah.
They have some kind of goal or mission or something that they're working on, and it keeps them young.
Mhm.
It doesn't surprise me at all that you going out and running all of a sudden made you a better performer. You had a
Yeah.
project. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so, hey, we're talking about being back on track after our fun tangent. We're talking about burnout and that time where you're pushing to try to achieve a goal or objective and the Zen timeline or continuum, Zen
Mm.
to craziness continuum. I'm sure you have a better name for it. I guess the next question I have is how do you help others through those times, maybe in your team? So the question I have here is, how do you build and lead a purpose driven team? But I guess maybe how are you coaching your team to remember why outside of you want to make more money? Or is that pretty much maybe that's standard for real estate?
I mean, so I think that's a staple of some sort, right? Why did I build a successful business in real estate? That was my marathon. That was my, I just got to prove that I can do it moment. And
Mm,
for me, the marker was a certain amount of money. So I could see why people would be driven by that. But I also had an underlying, I knew why I was going after the money. And it
yeah.
wasn't for the money strictly, it was deeper than that. And so I tried to get engaged with the people on my team as much as possible around the deeper aspects of, especially if they're really performing or they're really underperforming. It's like, what's going on? What's happening with you? And trying to figure out what makes them tick. Because if I can understand why they're underperforming, maybe they're going through something or whatever, maybe we can identify what they really want in life, what
Mhm.
really drives them, and can we plug real estate into that? Because if we can't, maybe you need to go somewhere else. That's not a bad thing. Maybe it's not a good fit for you. But right now, one of my big projects that I'm working on, I'm actually going to be rebranding here pretty soon because right now we're Dan's home team, super creative. But we're going to be rebranding. And part of that rebranding is also going to be a whole new vision and standards for the team because
Mm,
I started to recognize that as a team leader, I had expectations for my team. And some of them were communicated well, and other ones were not. And then I would get annoyed when people were not meeting my unexplained standards. Like, why are you not doing this? You should just know how to do this. You know what I mean? And I finally realized one day, I'm like, oh, this is my fault. So I'm starting to get really clear on what my vision is for the team. And to narrow it down, my vision for the team, change people's lives in real estate. I want to
mm,
take this vehicle and I want to put people in it and let them create something amazing for themselves and their families and be the catalyst for that change. That's it. So that's a new experiment that I'm focused on. I'm going to roll out all of these new standards and this vision. I'm going to have the team give me some input on it, and we're going to roll it out. And we're going to set it in stone, and then we're going to build a team around that culture. So it
mm.
has to be, I believe, it has to be very clearly defined. And once that's done, oh, clarity again. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we have that, then we're going to attract the right kind of people that fit that culture, and we're going to push away the people that don't fit into the culture, and then we're going to have a nice tight knit group of people that are all marching in the same direction.
Mhm. What I love about what you just said is that mission statement you had to change people's lives through real estate, right? You already did the financial incentive, prove it to myself, I can do this. But that turn of it into a service focused thing, which I think is a core principle in leadership. And we haven't talked about how we, we view leadership quite yet. Maybe we can get to that. But so yeah, changing people's lives through real estate. I imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that part of your process is connecting or getting people clear on why past the financial incentives. Because I've run or I've seen it in my coaching practice, is if you're solely motivated by the like money side, a lot of times you make choices that end up hurting your health or damaging relationships along the way. And that's not sustainable. And again, going back to the sustainability thing. So if I was a new real estate agent in your organization, do you have a process or how would you help me figure out how I was clear? And I'm asking you this too, because for our listeners, I think this process will probably be similar for whatever they're going after.
Yeah. Yeah. The first step would just be understanding their motivation,
Mm,
like asking a lot of questions. Why do you think real estate's the right vehicle? What excites you about it? What do you want to create for yourself? Why do you want to create that for yourself? What do you see as your biggest roadblocks? What do you see as your biggest strengths? Like just trying to understand where they're at on the map so that we can then figure out how we get to point B on the map, right? So that's probably where I would start. And then it would diverge from there. Maybe they need to take more classes. Maybe they need one-on-one mentoring. Maybe they are just a killer and they're just going to go and it's all they need is a rah rah. Who knows? It really
Mhm.
just depends on the person and what they need. And then getting them in touch with the correct resources, and resources can be online resources, mentors, coaches, connecting with other people on the team, masterminds, whatever it is, getting them connected with the appropriate resources so that they can get up and running as fast as possible. I think the other thing that's important to know, especially in real estate, is how quickly do you need to close a deal? Because that really is going to dictate a lot. Because if they need to close a deal in the next 90 days, then we need to go the lead gen way.
Mhm.
You're going to pay a huge split on it, but we're going to go find you a lead somewhere. If they're kind of got a year long runway, then maybe we do some lead gen stuff, but really we're going to do a different strategy, sphere marketing or whatever it is to build a more solid foundation that takes a little bit longer to get started, but much more functional down the line. I would also want to know what their current situation is financially. Usually for most agents at the front end, they're excited, they're ready to go, all that kind of stuff. So it's just a matter of getting the right tools in front of them.
Right on. So to paraphrase at a high level, it's figuring out what the motivation is for entering the field and then figuring out what technical or knowledge things they might need or not to go. And then thirdly is a little bit of encouragement and cheerleading to just, I imagine a lot of folks come in and in a situation like real estate, your anxieties, your self doubts are come up, especially if you're not getting the results you want. So,
Yeah. And to be honest, part of my, before I even bring a new agent on, part of my process is a little bit of poking the bear. It's just, listen, this is what your first year is going to look like. Are you sure you want to do that? It
mhm.
sucks. It's going to be this and it's going to be this. And then you got to deal with that. And like, it's going to be a while before you get paid. And like, I try to scare them out of it. No. So that way, when they come in, at least they have the expectation that it's going to be tough. And if nothing else, maybe that helps motivate them when they do come.
Getting clear on how it's going to be really terrible. Okay. Okay. So getting into some maybe closing thoughts. If people could do one or three things to maybe start leading their personal meaningful revolution, whether that's in real estate, which you've been talking about, or whatever they're going after, do you have one to three things that might help them lead that more effectively or figure out what their thing is? I'm sure part of what the questions you were just talking about are like, are you sure this is what you if you're not 100% like committed to doing this, it's going to eat you up. And I love that those types of questions to rattle people, but if this is your thing, um what are one to three things people could start doing like, to get at it, get after it?
Yeah. So yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
How do you find out what you want to do? Just do something, right? The more things that you do that don't work, the closer you are to finding that thing that does work for you, right? So
Mhm.
it's so simple and so hard to do sometimes. Just do something, right? That would be my number one thing. Stop thinking about it, stop planning it, stop wondering about it, stop dreaming. Just do something. Wake up and do
Mhm.
something different today that you didn't do yesterday. Don't be afraid of new things. Try it, analyze it, try again. You do that enough times, you're going to figure it out. So that would be my number one advice for figuring out maybe what you want to do. My number one piece of advice for maybe creating your own revolution. So, for example, I want to create a giant playground for adults that's going to be
Mhm.
used for personal growth and development. If I opened that up today, it would not be effective. I have not mastered the tools quite yet. Like, I feel like I'm close, but I've been working on this for 10 years and trying to master my skill so that when I finally do have the opportunity to open this thing up, I'm prepared. And I'm still going to continue to learn, but at least I'm prepared. So if you want to create your own meaningful revolution, my advice would be walk the walk. You want to show somebody how to build a business. You want to show somebody how to run a real estate business, run a real estate business. You want to show somebody who has had suicidal tendencies how to turn it around and create something awesome, turn it around. You want to show somebody how to overcome alcoholism or abuse when they were kids, or you whatever it is you want to do to help people to do, walk the walk, make the changes yourself, see what
Mhm.
it actually takes. Because when somebody asks you a question about it, you're not going to be regurgitating something that you think sounds good. You're going to be speaking from your heart, from an authentic place. You're
Mhm.
going to understand at a very deep level how to help that person. And that's where power of something like that comes in.
Oh, I yeah, that's super solid advice. So I absolutely love it. Yeah. Do something. So I'm sure some folks are thinking, like you said, do something and then spend the time to get good at it. And just to thread that needle, right? You're not saying think about it until you think you're good at it and then start. It's get into action. In your case, maybe open small playgrounds for adults before you open the big thing.
Right.
To kind of run with that example. Yeah. So it's not don't prepare to be great. Get in the process of getting great. Correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You look at, let's say golf.
Mm.
Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. I play golf. But if I didn't play golf and I wanted to get into it, I could easily just dive into videos online and watch
Mhm.
Golf Channel and watch all the pros and think about my perfect swing and blah, 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 blah. But until I get on the golf course and just hack away at a bazillion balls, I'm never going to get any
Mhm.
better.
Yep.
There's just nothing to replace getting out there and hacking away and screwing it up.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with golf with me, I don't play golf. It's I'm terrible at it, but it's good. It's a
It's a
fun
beat
thing.
down,
Yeah,
but
it teaches you a lot about life.
it does.
With that, Dan, what's the best way for folks to follow up with you if they want to keep an ear out for your playground or are thinking about real estate or are looking for one of your books?
Yeah, if anybody is thinking about real estate or they're looking for a new team, even if they're not in Denver, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to them because we are still growing our team. The easiest place to find me would be on dangomer.com. Pretty straightforward. I'm on all the social medias as well, Dan's home team and, my name, Dan
Cool.
Gomer. Pretty easy to find. I've also got on dangomer.com, I've got links where you can download free copies of my ebooks. They're actually paperback, but those are ebooks.
Yeah.
And do that, it'll add you to my weekly newsletter as well, which is just a mindset newsletter. Pretty lighthearted, easy read. So you can get signed up for that too.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll have, the dangomer.com and the links below and links to some of your social medias.
Thank you.
So with that, before we get off the call, what did you really love about our conversation today? I like asking this question.
I just enjoy having more conversations like this. I won't go down too far of a rabbit hole. There was a time in
Mhm.
my life when I was starting to think about coaching and teaching and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, why does the world need another person telling everybody how to fix their lives and blah, blah, blah?
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, you know what? If everybody was talking about this stuff, the world would be a much better place.
Mhm.
So I just appreciate you putting this together and having me on. I thought it was a great conversation. And hopefully, this is helping with both of our missions to make the world a better place and have a meaningful revolution.
I definitely think it will be. I can't wait for this episode to get out. So with that, Dan, thank you so much for being on the Meaningful Revolution podcast. We'll see
Yeah,
you guys
thank you.
next time. Hey, if you loved this episode of The Meaningful Revolution, you're going to love this previous episode with Leroy Slanzy about emotional schools, about leading through change and burnout. So click on the video if you're watching on YouTube or check in the show notes, and we'll see you next time, folks.